Farmstead. I'm Rebecca, and my husband Nathan's actually with me here in the flesh. The last few times we've been filming, he's off doing something else. We were living separately half the week when I was living with my parents and he was living with his parents, or sometimes here. And so now we're finally in the same place because we've been officially living here a week and a half, which is really exciting. So we've been busy unpacking boxes and cleaning things and decorating for Christmas, as you saw a little bit in our last video. We were planning on going outside and getting our compost bin started today, but I started pouring in the rain. We had like a 1 hour break and it's like, oh, we'll film on a little bit, and then we came up from the basement and it was pouring again. So we will be doing that hopefully in a little bit. But we figured we would enjoy a cup of tea and talk a little bit about some of the things to possibly consider if you're planning on moving out of the suburbs or the city and going into the country, and things that you can practice while you're still living in the suburbs to help you make that transition a little bit smoother. If you're considering moving from the city or the suburbs to a more country lifestyle, one of the first things you probably want to figure out before you get out here is where are you going to be taking all of your trash. Especially if you are building, there is a lot of waste that comes off of it. We were very conscientious in our build of making our house fit standard 8 and 12 foot lumber, but there's still just a lot of waste that comes from it. So you want to have a place that you're either able to take it, unless you want to take on the cost of like a dumpster rental, which gets pretty expensive. I was talking to someone I know that's also building a house, and it's very expensive to rent a dumpster. So that's something just to start thinking about, even with just the construction phase. But when you're living there, you also need a place to take your garbage. Even though we are conscientious about wanting to recycle and compost, there's still waste. And you have to figure out what you're going to do with all of it.
Similarly, when it comes to recycling, where is your closest recycling center? We're thankful that our convenience center, which is only 4 minutes up the road, is both for our trash and recycling. So that has made it very convenient to get into a good rhythm and routine of keeping all the trash picked up and off of the job site during the construction, but now getting into our daily life as well.
As you will discover, after you get out of the construction phase and you start having food waste trash on the property, we have had issues where the coons start coming out and they start getting into your trash. Thankfully we don't live in bear country here, but if you do live in bear country, you need a bear-proof trash can outside. Otherwise you will find your trash everywhere, as a lot of my dad's relatives have discovered over the years. So that's another thing to keep in mind is, you can't just put your average suburban, flip-top trash can out there because it will get raided. So in the years leading up to us moving out here, we were trying to reduce our waste just from an environmental perspective, and we were getting pretty efficient at it. So we were trying to make sure that we were eliminating like one single-use items, so decreasing the amount of paper towels we need. There's some jobs that, yes, a paper towel is probably the best thing for it and you want to just throw it away at the end of it. But things like cloth napkins, not using plastic cutlery or paper plates. So getting in the rhythm of using things that, yes, they do require cleaning, but just building that into our daily lives so that we're not creating extra waste that we would then have to take to the dump. So for us as a household of 2 adults, that meant we were able to get down to about a grocery store sized bag of garbage each week. The rest of it we were able to take care of with recycling and composting. So one of the first ways that we eliminate the amount of garbage that we produce and therefore have to take off-site is our compost bin here. We ended up having to get a new one because our old one ended up breaking as we moved, but it has a carbon filter in it, so you're never gonna smell it in here. And this is where we put things like, when we crack an egg, we put the eggshell in here, the rinds of things that we're not gonna use, the leftover bits and bobs that we can't use for, say, broth. So we put all that in here, and that will be going outside into our compost pile every couple of days. And if it's something that, say, the chickens might appreciate, we will take it out and dump it in the chicken pen as well. So while it's still raining, we're going to film out here on the back porch, but it's actually going to be pretty close to where our compost bin is going to be, because you actually want your compost pile somewhere you're actually going to walk to on a regular basis, which is your zone 1 near the house part of your homestead. So we were out here looking. We don't actually have our compost pile started yet, but we're taking into consideration some different things on where we actually want it, where it would be convenient, where are we planning on putting our barn and chickens so that we can maybe get some animal manure to it easily. We want it to have easy tractor access, and so we were taking a look around trying to figure out where we want ours.
So part of our decision making is understanding where our primary entry and exit is from the house, because a lot of the scraps will be coming from the kitchen. But then also in relation to our chickens, because we want to have some fresh manure in the compost to keep it nice and hot. There are some environmental factors to keep in mind as well. Preferably you have full sun for your compost, because that'll help keep the temperature up and help that decomposition rate to go much quicker. So for us, entering will primarily be out of this back porch from the kitchen.
Which is right there,
So
right in front of us.
we're wanting the ease of access for it to be close to the back porch, but yet far enough so you don't smell it. So we were looking at different areas, and I think we're going to land somewhere right around here. You can see the red well house over there, and it'll end up being close to where that green trash can and the small chicken tractor is. It has ease of access, close to the woods, so it has like a natural backdrop to it, but yet it'll have full sun exposure throughout the day as well.
As we are in a facing southern exposure here, so it'll get plenty of sunshine. And we're planning on having our chickens right over here on this side of the house, so they'll be right there. And then we would like to build our barn milking parlor on that side over there as well, so it'll be convenient to any animal manure that we want to put into it.
One of the principles that we try to live by, which I'm sure you've heard of, is starting with reducing, reuse, and then recycle. So like egg cartons, for instance, yes, you can recycle them, but if you can either reduce the number you use or reuse them, that's far better. So we use a lot of these ourselves, but when our chickens slow down, we do return these to the people that we get our eggs from locally as well. That way, they continue to be in circulation, because every time you recycle things, most of the time, they aren't able to recycle 100% of the material. So there's always loss along the way. One other thing to be mindful of is being knowledgeable of the recycling center that you have local to you, and dividing your recycling up according to their specific organizational systems. For instance, over here, you'll see we have 3 different bins. It's interesting at ours, but cardboard with plastic goes together. Then we have paper, and then glass and tins are both in the same general area. So we try to just group those accordingly to be sure that when we're at the recycling center, it makes efficient sense just to combine the like items in terms of where they go at the recycling center.
So not only is the construction process produce a lot of waste, so does moving. One of the things that we tried to do when we were moving was eliminating the amount of like single-use plastic, so like bubble wrap and things like that. So we got a lot of newspapers from the library that I work at, got boxes secondhand from other people, and Amazon boxes when we were packing. And now we have to get them to the recycling center. So at our recycling center, all the boxes have to be flattened. So we do that here at the house, especially on a rainy day like this, and when we don't want to be standing out in the rain dumping our recycling. We get it all prepped to go here at the house so that we can do it very efficiently at the recycling center. So as you saw earlier, our recycle bins were pretty full as we have been unpacking a lot of boxes. So we have a lot of cardboard when you get out. So we're gonna make a quick trip to our convenience center here in Townville and take a lot of the stuff out of the house, as we are expecting to have some company this afternoon as we share our newly completed farmhouse with some of Nathan's family, friends, and relations. One other thing that we forgot to mention is our convenience center has a totally separate section for construction waste. So things like this laminate here don't go in the regular household garbage. So we have to bag anything that's construction separately from our household garbage as well. So that's something to keep in mind when you are getting ready to go to your convenience center in your rural town area, is to figure out how they want everything separated out. Well, the Prius is loaded up and ready to go to the convenience center, so we need to head out. So I'll wrap up here. Hope you enjoyed learning a little bit about one of the things to consider when you first start setting up your homestead, which is waste management. Where are you going to put your compost, take your recycling, and take your trash that you create? Hope we gave you a few ideas of how to manage that on your homestead and what to consider when you do go to your local convenience center. We'll catch you next time.